What about the proper care and feeding of our brain? I'm Joseph. This is Input English. Today I have 6 brain hacks that are not trivial. No, think about it. Our brain is our most powerful asset. Sometimes we don't give our brains the recognition that they deserve. And for language learning, it's the name of the game. It is the way it's done. So I started out with an expression, the care and feeding, and that is a common phrase you may hear, originally talking about taking care of a pet, the care and feeding of a goldfish, or the care and feeding of a dog or a cat. But it has been used extensively as a metaphor for taking care of a process or something that is not an animal. You can metaphorically say the care and feeding of your English learning project. The care and feeding of your brain as if it was a pet. It's metaphorical, so it's perfectly acceptable. So I have 6 points I'd like to review with you, and the first one is attention. That is, we need to pay attention to this project, this endeavor of learning English. I've been asked in the comments section whether we learn words, phrases, and the structure of the language passively if we're not really paying attention. The research on this topic is very clear. You do learn a little bit in the background, but it is minimal compared to what you learn if you actually pay attention. So if you are doing the dishes, what people might consider a mindless task of repetitive motor activity that requires no real reasoning, and while that is being done with your hands, you are paying attention to a podcast, an audiobook, a story, then learning is quite good if you're actually paying attention to that input. But instead, let's consider that you are balancing your checkbook or paying bills while you're listening to content. That's not going to work out very well for you because your attention is focused on this other task, which requires concentration, and it's averted away from the input, and you're not going to learn much. So we need to pay attention. This fits right into other things I have talked about. On the mantelpiece today, we have a candle in a brass candle holder. It's there as a gentle and respectful reminder to pay attention because we need to notice things. Number 2, alertness. That is our brain health. Is our brain alert, or are we in a daze? Are we super tired? Are we hungover? Are we under the influence of adult beverage? Did we have a glass of wine? There are things that interfere with brain function under the umbrella of alertness. Drinking coffee has been suggested as a way to improve language learning because it helps with alertness. Coffee is not an earth-shattering way of dramatically improving your performance, but if you are drowsy or sleepy and you drink coffee or tea and you become more alert, then you're going to likely be more effective. In general, I try to avoid substances as opposed to add them, but I have to admit, I drink coffee every day because I like it and it won't hurt you. Other things can interfere. Alcohol. If somebody drinks alcohol before and during their sessions of getting input, they're not going to retain as much. Alcohol is a central nervous system depressant. It depresses brain function, and the results would be as you would expect. There are a lot of medications that will do basically the same thing. A lot of the anti-allergy, antihistamine, and cold remedy type medications can cause a low level of drowsiness. They are central nervous system depressants, and your retention is likely to be less. Now, alertness goes with the next point, and that is sleep. Sleep is our third point. If you're not getting enough sleep, your brain function will suffer. So if someone has a habit of staying up late, doing a lot of social or online things, and then not getting enough sleep during the day, gradually their brain function is going to decrease, and this can contribute in a very negative way to your learning ability. So what are the numbers? Well, everybody's different, but the thing that impressed me is how similar we are in this area. Most people need 7 to 8 hours a day of sleep. Now, you may profess that you do great with 4 hours of sleep. The data doesn't support that. I do recognize that everybody's a little different, and if somebody really does well on 4 hours of sleep, well, good for them. But the population, the people, you're talking 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And if you create a schedule for yourself that chronically deprives you of sleep, then that's going to have a big effect on your ability to learn new things. A fatigued brain does not learn very well, and a fatigued brain cannot pay attention very well. So number 2 and number 3 are linked. So you have an opportunity to affirmatively fix this by looking at your schedule, because you are in control of what you do. You control your behavior. And if you're not getting roughly 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night, you might want to make some changes for your own benefit. Number 4, repetition. Repetition is your friend. It's an important part of learning languages, and that repetition can take several forms. One form is I tend to repeat expressions video after video after video. So some of the repetition is built into this content. Authors, presenters, YouTube content creators each tend to repeat phrases that they use commonly. So the repetition is actually built into the content. But that isn't what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is you looking at an opportunity to, for instance, on videos, watch that video several times. We don't recommend that you just watch each video one time, because that's a missed opportunity. This is where our video library on this channel will help you, because now we have more than 45 hours of video content that you can go through. If you go through it, for instance, from the oldest to the newest, by the time you get to the newest video, it will be time you could go back to the oldest one again and watch it again. That will give you the spacing that will satisfy the recommendations of the neuropsychology folks. Spacing. We've talked about that. I have several videos on that. Now, if you're interested in the neuropsychology of learning, forgetting, and remembering, I have a video on that on this channel, and it is entitled How We Learn. And you can search that on the channel and bring it up, and it explains the work of Robert Bjork and his colleagues at UCLA, explaining this fascinating part of human brain function. With respect to repetition, I would just tell you repetition is your friend. Number 5, taking breaks. Well, there's several ways to look at a break. First, if you've just finished a video, you want to take a break from that video and watch different content because you want that interleaving benefit to your learning process. So you want to take a break from that video. I don't watch videos repeatedly in one session, just go back and start it again. I don't do that because I want the interleaving of other material, other content, other subject matter, other vocabulary for my benefit. It works better. Taking a break during a content absorbing session is important. Get a drink of water, use the bathroom, get a snack. Is it time for a meal? Do you need a nap? Taking breaks to overcome issues of fatigue is a very useful tool. Taking breaks will also help you with the other principle of neuropsychology that I've mentioned, a very powerful tool, and that is spacing. Spacing is just allow some time to pass before you re-review that material. Spacing is one of the most powerful things you can do to learn better. What about taking breaks from learning language in terms of days or weeks? Well, absolutely, it's going to happen because, as we say, life shows up. We have lots of things that happen in our lives that demand our time, demand our attention, and interfere with projects like this. So if you have to take some time off, don't be hard on yourself. We want success, we want to stay focused, but if your circumstances dictate that you take some time off, then do so and don't feel badly about it. But look for that opportunity to get back into the rhythm of it, get back into your habits, and get back on track. What we don't want to do is take a break that completely derails the program and stops us from making progress. Number 6 is how we deal with mistakes. People make mistakes. I make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. And yet in language learning, people get upset when they make mistakes. And I would argue that that's not the way we want to do this. I would accept that every day you and I are going to make mistakes. It's a human characteristic, it's a trait, and it's not bad. We actually learn from our mistakes. So what I would advocate on this topic is we need resilience. So what do I mean by that? So imagine that we are on a hilltop and there's a young, healthy, green tree and the wind is very strong. And the wind blows and that tree bends. And then when the wind slows down and stops, the tree comes back up to its normal shape and position. That's resilience. It bounced back. It came back after the stress. Now, let's say the tree is old and diseased and the wind blows and the tree snaps and collapses to the ground. Well, that is not resilience. No, that's a failure. My approach to mistakes is to look for resilience. If you make a mistake, notice it, rest your mind on it, be resilient. Don't beat yourself up. There's no benefit to you. Another thing I would strongly advise is don't ask people to correct your mistakes. If someone is giving you a bunch of corrections of what you're saying, it's a very negative message that your brain is receiving subconsciously. You don't want to focus on mistakes. You just want to learn from them. So I never ask anyone to correct my errors. If I make an error, it doesn't matter. If someone doesn't understand me because of my error, it'll become pretty clear, and then I can reword what I'm saying and perhaps discover the error. We need to have the confidence to stay on track, continue learning, and believe that we can do this. And if you're always getting your errors corrected, it takes a lot of energy out of your program. It deflates our confidence. I don't recommend people memorize word lists, but I've given you a list of 6 things today, and I would look at each point on that list to see if there are opportunities for you to optimize what you're doing so that you can get what you want. Comprehensible input works, and these 6 brain hacks that I have mentioned will make it work better and more efficiently. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you like videos like this, be sure to click on this one next. See you soon.